Well, hello guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Anna. I'm a little bit spooky, and today we're doing some 90s grunge. I wanted to feel like a grungy 90s supermodel, kind of a lived-in runway-ish look, very Kevin O'Quave vibes. So that's what I did today. We use groundwork, defining neutrals, and a little bit of blushing romance for this from Danessa Myricks, and yeah, some nice pretty lashes. And I wanted to do something very sculpted, and I throw a lot of random tips and tricks into this video. I don't know where that was coming from, but I decided to put on my teacher hat and start talking about how to do things and start giving all kinds of little random tips and tricks there. Would you guys like to see some more videos that are more about tips and tricks and kind of placement and technical stuff rather than just looks? Let me know that down below. I did the one with how I do eyeliner the other day. I think I did one about contour and skin prep. So yeah, anyway, this is Look We're Creating today, and I throw in some hooded eye tips and tricks and a few blending tricks, talk about some favorite brushes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and channel us some 90s runway, backstage, I don't know, look, whatever. Let's get into it. And when I say matte, I don't mean flat matte, I don't mean powdery, I mean matte on the eyes and maybe some subtle glow on the skin, but more just a skin-like finish. We're not gonna go metallic anywhere kind of thing. So anyway, we're gonna use groundwork defining neutrals today. We're gonna keep it kind of neutral and stay within that family, kind of yeah, just truly neutral, not super cool, not super warm, just right there in the middle. So let's get started. I'm gonna first we're gonna work with powders to begin with, by the way. I'm gonna take a little bit of the shade Sandstone, just a little bit, and dust that onto the lids. I've already primed my eyes, by the way, and got brows on. Girl, brows have been a little bit of a struggle. I am in that grow out stage. They are large and in charge, yet not. They're just a mess. First, we're gonna keep the eyes kind of a contoured look. I had some questions on how I did my eyeshadow in my hooded eye eyeliner video, so pretty much doing that look minus we'll just do the eyeliner a little different, I think, for today. Anyway, we're gonna start with a E25 here, and I'm gonna go straight into the shade called Chiseled, powder version. We're gonna use that to kind of contour the eye. So we're gonna come right here and bring that around and chisel out the eye. And I'm going a bit above my crease into the brow bone where it actually tucks in, not at my actual crease. If I was going with my actual crease, it would kind of bring things down and shrink everything. So I'm following the bone anatomy over the skin folds. So my brow bone actually is here. So that's where I'm sticking this eyeshadow and kind of angling it, diffusing it in an upward motion rather than downward onto the lid itself. A little bit right out here, we're gonna kind of get a little lift going. And you can kind of cheat things to create the illusion of symmetry. And sometimes that may mean adding more eyeshadow to one side than the other, or more contour to one side than the other. And I know it feels weird to do that, but if it creates the illusion of symmetry and that's what you're going for, go for it. Again, that's one thing I would recommend practice. Take pictures of yourself. Take a little video of yourself. Look at yourself at different angles, different lighting, and see how it looks. And then you can kind of tweak from there and try different placement and techniques. And now I'm going to take the shade called Stone, which is a bit cooler, very, very ashy color. Like, yeah, just truly an ashy shade. We're going to take that on the same brush, but we're going to come a bit lower. And I'm going to tuck it really in there into that crease brow bone region in a real kind of concentrated application. and just wiggling back and forth. And you see that's creating some depth there. Then I'm going to take it a little bit right out here and start to bring it down this outer V shape that you have right in this region. Start to kind of build it within that part. But just a little wiggly motion, keeping the blending motion smaller movements, and just little wiggles. Now we can continue to build that up some, and that shadow is primarily more on the tip of the brush. And I'm just tucking it right in there. See? And then wiggle. Now we can start to kind of blend it out and soften it up. And I'm just doing a little flicking motion like this to pull it out with no product added onto the brush. Just blending what is there. I try to keep my eyes relaxed for the most part, just to get the placement, and then I'll raise my brows for blending so it's a smooth surface. And I'm going to tilt my eyes up like this just so I can see. But I like to make sure I relax them and see where things are at and what might be getting hidden by excess skin or whatever, and where I might need to build up color. So you can see there's shadow here, and when I relax it disappears a little bit. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit more, and with my lids relaxed, I'm just going to very softly come right here with a tiny bit of the shadow on the brush, just so it's still visible when my eyes are relaxed. And I'm barely touching my skin, just super gentle movement of back and forth. And see, now we can kind of see some of that eyeshadow. And then lift just to soften things up a bit. For hooded eyes, I highly recommend the E25 and E27 from Sigma because they have a bit of a flatness to them and a fluffiness, so they really can just fit in there well, and then you can turn them to the longer, to where they're more vertical for blending. And both brushes, they're the same shape, one's just smaller than the other. So you can see this is the E27, this E25. So they have roughly the same density, just one's a little bit smaller and easier to really get in there with. Another really good brush is this one from Morphe. Little itty bitty blending brush. And since I mentioned E27, I'm going to swap over to it now. And we're going to go to the shade Sculpted, which is very neutral brown, and further tuck that right in here. And you see what small placement we get with this brush. And what I'm going to do with this shade is start to pull it really down onto the lid on this outer corner. And keep it focused right out here. Just like that. And you can use a smaller brush for this, something like this little Morphe brush. It's just really floppy, so there's not a lot of control with it. But You could also use something like this, like a little flat kind of packer brush for your placement, and then a smaller blending brush to just diffuse the edges. So I'll show you that on this side. So we're taking like a little flat packer brush, like this is a dense, firm brush. You're not really, can't really blend a whole lot with it. So just picking up a little bit of that eyeshadow on it, and you're gonna lay it just like that. Just pat it on. You can kind of soften the edges a bit as you go with the tip of the brush. You can take something like this brush with nothing on it and just diffuse those edges. Just little wiggly circular motion. And if you want to diffuse some more, you could take the little brush straight into that shade. You're just gonna get a lighter application if you're using this to lay down your product, and you can run the risk of a little more fallout as well. But it can be done. Yeah, use what you got. The Morphe brush is very cheap as well. It's pretty affordable. I'm gonna start listing like the main tools I use in the description box with links for you, so that's kind of just there. And I'm gonna have that on every video. You see, we can take this little brush though and build up from there as well. And this one's also really good for getting right into that fold and blending and diffusing up and out. And Morphe is not my favorite brand, but this little brush is pretty cool. Hopefully it's still available. It is a M562. If it's not, I will link a similar equivalent type of brush. I do believe Sigma has one. And I like Sigma because their brushes are fairly affordable-ish. You can catch so many sales from Sigma. By the way, you don't ever have to pay full price. There's discount codes, there's sales. And their quality is 10 out of 10. Whereas Morphe brushes are not gonna last you that long. They're kind of cheaply made. They're not the best in the world. But also, I am working very slow here, being very patient and very intentional with my placement. All right, we'll go back to Chiseled, which is that first shade. And I can just run a little bit like right here. Just to create a transition and soften that out. All right. I think I'm going to build up a little bit more darkness on this outer corner. And for that, I'm going to take a little bit of cream of Sculpted from this palette. And I'm just going to use a really small, actually we could use this little flat brush here. This is a Sonia Kashuk brush, by the way. Will be linked below. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that cream version of Sculpted. And just pat it right there. Right on that outer corner. And we can kind of let it blend. That was one of the really nice things about these Danessa Myricks Groundwork palettes, is that you can go in with the cream and add so much more depth to a shade and really adjust the darkness level of them. And I'm just doing patting, and it's just diffusing on its own pretty much. And now we can take the powder again, same brush, and just pat that over top to set it down. Now I don't take the pomades, the creams in these palettes into the crease because I do get creasing. I have very oily eyelids, but I can use them on the lid themselves and they do fine. And I'm doing like a little bit of almost a flicking motion there at the outer corner and just like tugging it up towards the tail of the brow in that general direction. All right, we go back to a little blending brush. And we can soften this edge a little bit. When you think things are blended, just do a little bit more. And we'll go right here with this. Just to soften where it is meeting on the lid here. Or going onto the lid. And I'm just steadily building and pulling out. Letting things get a little deep and smoky on the outer corner. Alright, taking just a little bit more of Sculpted. And pull a little bit right here. And I'm going to take my E25, no extra product, and just soften some edges. Now I'm going to take a lighter shade. I'm actually going to jump over to Blooming Romance from Danessa Myricks. Same concept, just in the pinks. And I'm going to take the shade Crush, which is the lightest, almost a skin tone shade for me. And just pop a little bit of that right here. Just to brighten up any sort of kind of matte brightening shade. You could use your face powder. I'm just going to use that to diffuse and brighten the lid up. Okay. There is a kind of a yellow-based light matte shade in Defying Neutrals. It's just a little yellow on me, and sometimes on camera I can really read yellow, or in person too. Okay, so make sure everything looks blended and fairly even. Now I'm going to take a little liner brush. I'm going to take this one from Elf. It's a little Elf brush. It's just their angled liner brush. You can use it for brows, liner, or whatever. We're going to take the cream version of Sculpted again. Go from the outer corner. And then back onto the lid. And just going to keep that right into the lash line. You see I'm putting the brush right where my rims of my eyes meet, like the waterline and the tight line, lash lines. Putting it right there, and then just kind of coming out from there. Just angling in general direction of the tail of my brow. And then I'll tug it just back in on itself a little bit right here. Because this is the same color we kind of used on the outer corner, it's not going to look obvious like a wing. It's more just for the darkness right there and kind of a smoky look. I just want it to work that into the lash line a bit. Bit of the powder over top there. And doing this very light sketching motion just to blur that into the rest of the eyeshadow. When I'm doing this little sketchy soft blend here, I'm barely touching the skin. And just a little tiny blending brush here. And if I want to kind of soften over, you can do that. Alright, now I'm going to take a bit of the black cream in here. It's called Tourmaline. And I'm going to come right here and relax my eyes and go right where the lower lash line meets the upper. I'm going to come straight out just a little bit and then angle up. Then we can take a little bit right here on the upper lash line at the outer corner. And create a little flick. And we'll do the same with the powder here version of tourmaline. This is a black matte powder. And I'll come right over that cream. So lock her in. And the wing looks a little chunky. Don't worry, we'll fix that. We're going to clean up and give it a little more lift right out here in just a moment. I'm just going to work this really into the lashes, this eyeshadow. See, I'm going to put on some falsies today. I'm doing a little, just like pat, right into the lashes. And a good little way to get right in there is to take the little liner brush and kind of almost like as if you're applying mascara and just kind of blinking down on it. You can get right in there. And when I'm like in this inner corner right here, I look the opposite direction of the brush. It's a little trick. It makes it easier. If you're looking right at it and trying to do it, it's gonna, the muscle movement for one thing will cause there to be a slight movement in the lid itself. So looking away actually creates a little bit of tautness in that region. And because you're not seeing a brush coming at you, it's just a little easier to do. It's just those little tricks. So look the opposite direction there. Just for that, or like anytime you're working your tight line, just look the direction away from where you are and you just kind of go by feel. It will take practice. And it is tickly and feels funny. But you'll get good at it. The more you practice it, it'll get easier. Now for today's look, I'm not concerned about having perfect eyeliner. I want it to be a little bit smudgy and smoky. Because it's kind of that whole little bit grungy, supermodel vibe I'm going for. So I'm just going to slowly add. And then I'm going to take my little blendy guy again, this little tiny blending brush. Go back to Sculpted. And I'm going to diffuse right here where the liner is. And almost like I'm joining them up. Or well, I am, rather. And really softening all those lines up. And I'm using that brownie shade instead of the black for this part. But of course, you could take just a touch of the black eyeshadow. Come right here. Just for a little more intensity. And we are going to grungy, so you know, why not? Taking a touch more of Stone. And I'm going to go back and brighten the lid just a little bit more and blend right there on the lid itself. So take the E27, a bit more of our light pink shade, our little skin tone shade. Bring just a little more black eyeshadow in. Just right there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Q-tip and a little bit of my face primer. I'm going to use a little bit of this putty primer liquid. Squeeze a little bit out on my hand. Pick a little bit up with the Q-tip. And come right under here. Clean things up. Very gently. No tugging. Now we have a nice, neat little edge there, and really get the lift. And just under the brow bone, I'm going to take some more of that pinky skin tone shade. Well, just pinky shade rather. My lightest shade, lightest matte. Okay, just a little bit more chiseled. Just extend that up just a little bit more. I got a lot of real estate right there. Might as well use it, you know? Now, I'll go ahead and do the rest of the face. I'm gonna do a little bit of foundation. Now, I've already done the e.l.f. Putty Primer on the skin, the liquid version. I'm gonna take a tiny bit of e.l.f. Halo Glow liquid filter. This or like some like Charlotte Tilbury Floss filter. Love them. I'm going to just take a little bit of this. This one's a little bit deep on me, but it kind of works because I'm doing it underneath the foundation. And I'm going to buff it in. So this is where our strategic glow is coming in. Now I'm going to do some foundation. For foundation, I'm going to use the Face Bond from Urban Decay. And this is a soft matte finish. And paired with the Halo Glow or the Floss filter, it's one of those beautiful, beautiful combos. Apply this with a brush. I have a full review and wear test of this foundation. I'll link in the corner if you're interested. And this is a self-setting foundation though, so you don't really need to eat powder with it. Unless you're excessively, extremely oily. I'm pretty oily and I can get away with it without powdering. Alright, now I'm going to add a little bit of structure to the face with a bit of that shade called Stone. We're going to use the cream version of it. And I'm going to take it on a little e.l.f. Duo Complexion brush on the small end. Dab a little bit into that shade. The pomade. Just a little bit right there. Bit right there. Then we take the fluffy side and blend it. Little upward motions, kind of a tapping. You can do it a bit on the nose, tip of the nose, right along the jaw. I know the nose contour looks a little crazy for a moment. Just give it a minute. We're not done. And then we'll bring in a little warmth. Just contour the lips a little. And I'm going to take the fluffy side of this and take a bit of chiseled. Again, the cream. I'm just going to tap a little bit right here. It's a bit warmer. It'll function a bit more in a bronzing way. I'm going to mix a little bit of Mirage in there. And now we do some concealer and things will start to kind of come together. It looks a little crazy right now. Okay, so concealer, I'm going to take a little bit of Kosas. And then for under the eye, I'm also going to mix in just a little bit of this Smashbox Halo 4-in-1 Perfecting Pen. Just for a little brightening. I'm going to use a smaller little concealer brush. I'm going to set down my under eyes with a bit of Simply Ageless pressed powder. Now I'm going to take the powder version of a little bit of chiseled. And a brush I really like to use for this is a little fan brush because it fits perfect. Just sit over our little contour area. I'm taking just a little bit of chiseled here. And I'm going to take a little Mirage as a bit of bronzing, because it's got a little bit of orange tone in it. And on the lower lash line, I'm going to take a really small smudge brush and some of the powder version of Tourmaline. We're going to come right in there. You see how that kind of came down just a little too far there? Don't love it. I'm going to take this. And just tie that up. And there we go. You could also take a little brush with a touch of concealer on it. A little flat brush. Clean that up if you wanted to. I want a smoky lower lash line today. I feel like that just suits the look a bit. So I'm getting right in there. Alright, I'm going to take that little baby blending brush, my little friend here. I'm going to take some of Sculpted on it. Now I'm going to take my little under eye powder brush and I'm just going to use that to smooth everything out there with just a little bit of translucent powder. This gives it a very hazy look. Okay, back to Blooming Romance now. We're going to do a little bit of blush on the cheeks. So, let's see what shade. I think I'm going to take a little bit of Adorn. I don't want like a ton to be this like a super blushy look. To me, I think that kind of suits more of a grungy look without a ton of blush and just more into that contour. Alright, so what we do now is throw on some lashes and mascara, touch up my brows, scrunch out the crunch, fluff the hair, and I'll be back for lips and the final look. Let's see, which lashes do we want to go with? And for the lashes that we're going to use today, they're called, they're from Kiss. They're the Voluminous Shaggy Faux Mink Effect from their Rebel collection. They look like this. So I'm going to trim those down, pop them on. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, lashes are on, brows are touched up, hair is floofed. I think the lashes look really good with this look. They're not as bold as I was anticipating. I blended them a little bit with a touch of black eyeshadow along the top just to hide the glue. Not a ton or anything, nothing crazy. All right, let's do a little finessing. Now that we got the lashes on, things always look a little different. I'm going to take just a little bit more of, let's do Sculpted on my little brush. And just kind of amp things up just a little bit. A little perfecting. Now, let's do lips. I'm going to do Harvest on the lips, I think. Because we're going 90s. We got to do like kind of a brownie lip, right? I mean, door. It do. It's actually easier if I line my lips with a pencil here. So I'm going to take some Cork from MAC. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of Harvest. I think last thing I want to do is kind of emphasize the crease just a little bit more. I think it needs a little bit more structure right there, a little bit more less blended, dare I say less blended. I'm taking some Sculpted and just really kind of carve that right here. To me that feels more 90s. Yeah. Alright, and this is the look all complete. It's a very 90s fun, mostly matte look. I think the skin has like a little bit of a natural kind of glow to it, like a skin-like glow, but it's not powdery matte. We didn't do any highlighter. Kind of chill on the blush, more structure, brown 90s lip, and very neutral eye with lots of smoky liner and some lashes. I like it. I think this is my kind of look. I love doing some smoky glam. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me today. I know I weirdly threw in like a lot of tips and tricks in this one. Hopefully those were helpful. Let me know down below. I want to do a video focused on keeping your eyeshadows from getting muddy for one thing, a video on maybe corrections for asymmetry type of thing, and just some more videos focused a little bit more into the tutorial that is very educational, not just, hey, here's how I do this look, but more about like the tips and tricks. Let me know if you would like to see that down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye now.